The royal matchmaking plan. The magnificent house of the Demos family stood out in the city, a magnificent structure with towering columns and intricate carvings. The Thomas family had just returned from abroad, having spent years traveling the world. Mr. Demos, a wealthy businessman, was known for his generous heart and keen sense of style. Mrs. Demos, elegant and poised, was just as renowned for her beauty and grace. They had 4 daughters, Mary, Jane, Elizabeth, and Kate. Each daughter had their own unique personality, but there was one thing they all had in common. Except for Kate, they were all spoiled and rude. Mary, Jane, and Elizabeth believed they were superior because of their family's wealth and status. They treated people poorly, from the staff to their peers, and looked down on anyone who wasn't as affluent as them. Kate was different. She had a heart full of kindness and a spirit that refused to conform to the expectations placed upon her. While her sisters flaunted their wealth and luxury, Kate preferred rough games with the neighborhood boys, climbing trees, and exploring the wilderness. She dressed in clothes that were practical for adventure rather than the latest fashion. Meanwhile, in the majestic palace of the kingdom, King Nuru and Queen Amina were deep in conversation. Their only son, Prince Stanley, was now of age to marry. They had heard of the esteemed Thomas family and believed that marrying into their lineage would strengthen their royal ties. But King Nuru and Queen Amina wanted their son to make a choice based on his own feelings rather than tradition. "We must let him choose for himself," Queen Amina said, her voice full of concern. "It must be a genuine connection." "Yes," King Nuru agreed. "But how can we ensure he meets the daughters without revealing his true identity? The Thomas family must not know who he is, or the chance of finding a true match might be lost." They devised a plan. Prince Stanley would go incognito as a new gateman at the Demos residence. They hoped this way, he could meet the daughters naturally and see who he genuinely connected with. The prince was excited about the plan. He dressed in humble clothes, wore a cap that covered his face, and adopted a gruff tone for his new role. The royal family arranged for Stanley to have a simple hut near the Demos mansion, and he began his new job with a mix of curiosity and determination. On the first day, he was met with scorn from the Demos daughters. Mary, Jane, and Elizabeth were dismissive and rude. They complained about the gateman's presence, ignoring his polite attempts to greet them. Kate, however, noticed the new gateman and approached him with genuine curiosity. "Hello, I'm Kate. How's your first day going?" she asked warmly. Stanley, taken aback by her kindness, smiled. "It's been quite a day, Miss Kate." Over the next few weeks, Kate and the gateman, Stanley, developed an unexpected friendship. They talked about their interests, their dreams, and their favorite books. Kate found solace in these conversations, as she was tired of the pretentious attitude of her sisters. She began to see the gateman as more than just a servant. Mary, Jane, and Elizabeth continued their usual behavior. They threw parties and flaunted their wealth, disregarding the gateman altogether. They often mocked Kate for spending time with someone they deemed unworthy of her company. One evening, Kate's sisters threw a grand party to celebrate their return. The mansion was filled with laughter, music, and extravagant decorations. Kate wanted to invite the gateman to join the festivities, but her sister stopped her. "You can't seriously be thinking of bringing him to the party," Mary scoffed. "What would our guests think?" Kate's heart sank, but she stood her ground. "He's a friend, and he's been kind to me." The sisters rolled their eyes and went back to their party, leaving Kate feeling isolated. She decided to stay away from the festivities and spent her evening with Stanley, discussing their favorite adventure novels. One day, the Demos family received an invitation to the palace. King Nuru and Queen Amina wanted to formally meet the family and discuss the marriage proposal. The royal couple was charmed by Mr. Demos and his wife, but they were anxious to see which daughter the prince would choose. Prince Stanley, still in his gateman disguise, observed the interactions closely. He was impressed by Mr. Thomas's humility but felt conflicted about the sisters' attitudes. He had grown fond of Kate, who was the only one who had treated him with respect. As the days went by, the Demos mansion was filled with preparations for a grand ball to celebrate the royal visit. The daughters were excited and treated the gateman with increasing disdain, believing that they were too important to associate with him. Kate, on the other hand, was disheartened by her sister's behavior. She felt torn between her family's expectations and her own values. She continued to spend time with Stanley, who had become a confidant and friend. The night of the ball arrived, and the Moss mansion was illuminated with dazzling lights. Guests arrived in their finest attire, and the atmosphere was filled with music and laughter. The prince, still disguised as the gateman, watched from the sidelines. During the ball, Mary, Jane, and Elizabeth competed for attention, flaunting their wealth and ignoring the prince. They took every opportunity to belittle others, including the gateman, whom they saw as an insignificant part of the household. Kate, however, remained calm and graceful. She danced with the prince in their usual secret spot in the garden, away from the party's chaos. They shared their dreams and hopes, and their connection deepened. As the ball continued, Prince Stanley felt a strong pull towards Kate. He admired her kindness, her genuine nature, and her refusal to follow her sister's shallow ways. He decided it was time to reveal his true identity. In a private moment, Stanley took off his cap and revealed his royal features. Kate gasped in surprise, but her initial shock quickly turned to joy. "You're the prince," Kate exclaimed. "I had no idea." Stanley nodded, his eyes filled with sincerity. "I wanted to know who you truly were without the influence of my status. You have been kind and genuine, and I admire that." When Kate returned to the ball, her sisters noticed her radiant happiness. They were intrigued by her sudden change in demeanor and began to suspect that something extraordinary had happened. Their curiosity grew as they overheard snippets of the conversation between Kate and the prince. When the prince revealed his true identity to the entire gathering, the sisters were stunned. They had treated Stanley poorly and now faced the consequences of their actions. Their embarrassment was palpable as they realized the gravity of their behavior. In front of the guests and the royal family, Prince Stanley made a formal proposal to Kate. "Kate the Moss, you have shown me what true kindness and love are. Will you marry me and become the future queen by my side?" Kate's heart soared with joy. "Yes, Prince Stanley, I would be honored." The guests erupted in applause, and the Moss family was left in awe. Mr. and Mrs. de Moss were proud of Kate's integrity and pleased with the royal match. Mary, Jane, and Elizabeth were left devastated by the turn of events. Their once privileged lives seemed to lose their luster as they realized they had missed out on a chance to be part of the royal family. They were forced to confront their behavior and reflect on their actions. Kate tried to console her sisters, but their resentment was evident. They continued to harbor jealousy and anger, refusing to accept their role in the situation. The wedding of Prince Stanley and Kate was a grand affair, celebrated with joy and splendor. The palace was adorned with flowers, and the city buzzed with excitement. Kate wore a stunning gown that blended elegance with her adventurous spirit, and Stanley looked regal in his royal attire. During the ceremony, Kate and Stanley exchanged vows, promising to love and support each other. The happiness and unity they shared were a stark contrast to the tension that had existed between the sisters. After the wedding, Kate and Stanley began their new life together. They worked on various charitable projects, using their wealth and influence to make a positive impact on their community. Kate's kindness and compassion became a hallmark of their reign, and the people admired their genuine care for others. The former de Moss sisters remained in the city but led quieter lives. They had learned a valuable lesson about humility and respect, though their newfound understanding didn't completely erase their previous mistakes. Years later, the story of Kate and Stanley was told throughout the kingdom as a tale of true love and character. Kate's legacy as a princess who valued kindness over status endured, and her story was remembered as an inspiring example of the power of authenticity and respect. The Thomas family's mansion was now a symbol of the changes that had taken place. It stood as a reminder that true worth is not measured by wealth or status, but by the kindness and integrity one carries within. And so, the tale of the prince and the gateman became a cherished legend, reminding everyone that even in a world of wealth and power, it is the heart that truly defines who we are.
I hope you enjoyed the tale. If so, please like the video, comment, share it with your family and friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more enchanting tales like this one. Goodbye.